MEA was born of the suffering of women during the armed conflict in Guatemala that officially lasted 36 or 37 years, but was longer.
Longer indeed, as the memories are so fresh and ramifications still present. In 2013, the war claimed the lives of 200,000 mostly indigenous people between 1960 and 1996, with thousands more disappeared. Another 1.5 million were displaced, forced to flee from their homes. The country was left polarized, distrustful, and clouded in instability. It was a war between the political right and the political left, between the military and the guerrillas.
There were the fires and the bombings. Guatemala used to be a lot greener before the army burnt down. Much of the forests are gone because the army burnt them down in order to draw out the guerrillas. And so that's why it's deforested to the degree that it is today.
Women were left especially vulnerable and isolated by the war and survived only by working together. Felipa is the director of MEA, Mujeres en Acción in Spanish, or Women in Action in English. With the assistance of an interpreter, she talks about the urgent and immediate help that was needed following the genocide.
Sometimes emergency support, basic needs like medicine and food. We were able to offer participants up to 6 weeks of support to gain their strength back. These families that had gone through this recovery process had nowhere to go. Their homes had been burnt, their crops had been destroyed. Essentially, the army practiced a scorched earth policy, and we needed to respond to that.
And thus, the organization was born in a climate of chaos and uncertainty, finally receiving legal status in 1991 after years of working together. Terry Fielder of World Accord became involved with the group around that time and began to provide some support to Women in Action so they could become more effective in their work. Their focus slowly shifted from immediate response to long-term sustainability programs like environmental protection, reforestation, and micro-loan programs. And the examples are abundant throughout rural Guatemala. Now Board President Rafaela, again translated, shared her journey with us.
I'm going to start with a story. Yeah, she says, in 1981, I became a widow because of the war here in Guatemala, the armed conflict. When my husband was killed and my community destroyed, I felt that there was no future, no solution, nothing to do. If I had been alone, I probably would have laid down and died. But I had my children.
And so she began her labor of love, doing anything she could to earn money for her family.
She would wash other people's laundry. She worked in other people's houses, doing domestic work, cooking, anything she could to earn a living. And she remained connected with Women in Action while she was doing that. She received one of the first loans the organization gave of 150 quetzales.
These loans are invaluable lifelines to the indigenous women of Guatemala. With it, they can work on their farms, grow chamomile, crops, and vegetables. Weaving is a source of pride and great comfort. They can weave traditional clothing and bracelets and sell it at the market. Another widow, Macaria, leaves her home country to labor in ours. The tomatoes she picks in Leamington, Ontario may very well end up on our kitchen tables.
You leave with a heavy heart. I wish that I didn't have to go, but I need to go in order to help my family. It's an economic opportunity and we can't pass it up. Sometimes you do what you need to do.
The mother of 8 grows potatoes and sells a corn drink and snacks to support her children and is truly grateful for the assistance of MEA.
Now, Kenya Macaria works as a trainer with the credit program, and she as an extension worker too. So she goes out to the communities to work with groups, train them with credit, to help them keep their books. That's been transformative in her life. You know, without Women in Action, would have been on the streets.
In speaking with these women, one thing is clear. Everything they do for their children, well-looked after, bright-eyed youth who, among the poverty and hardship, can find happiness with a few visiting Canadian strangers. When Melida is not working with the children in her church, she is yet another source of comfort for the women connected with MEA. The 36-year-old has been with the organization since graduation.
I love to work here. When I stay here, I feel so good. Is the people, many people from communities come to me and talk to me many things about her life, her family, and all of this fool me. All the time I think, if I were that woman, it would be very difficult for me to do that. All the time I put in their shoes.
It's a phrase we use to convey empathy, compassion, and while Melida says her childhood memories aren't very clear, it's something that Felipa, a few generations older, remembers all too well.
It was horrendous. She said you would walk down the side of the street and you would see severed heads lying there in the gutter. People too afraid to do anything. Families too fearful to claim the bodies of the people that had been taken from there. There would often be mutilated body parts left as well as examples for others to get involved.
She also vividly recalls the lack of trust, the suspicion that pitted neighbor against neighbor, friend against friend, and the risk she took to form Women in Action.
Because of my work and my involvement in organizing women, I did receive a number of death threats. And I went to Honduras for different periods when things got too dangerous, when they were chasing me down. And sometimes I would come back. And as I crossed the border and I came back into this, I thought, why am I coming back? What's here? Because over there, at least there's peace, or there's a semblance of peace.
Peace is not a term used lightly in Guatemala. While the war may officially be over, gang violence is rampant across the country. Melida herself lost a cousin in a hail of bullets. Her brother survived an assassination attempt while in a public college. With her financial assistance, he enrolled in a private school. She also helped support her family.
We were poor. I began to help my family until I began to work. I began to work here. I helped my brother to can finish his studies in the college.
So by you working here, you're helping your entire family and you're helping all the women that come in to see you. How does that make you feel?
Very happy. Yes. Sometimes I feel so hard, but it's happy to see happy my family.
Working today for a better tomorrow, it is Macaria's hope that her struggles will ease the future burden for her 8 children.
Yes, my dream is that all women will continue to struggle to have a better future for their children and for their communities, so that their children will not have to suffer as many of us did in the past.
And Felipa, the driving force behind MEA, she who survived death threats, feared machine gun attacks in the night, and who carries on worries for the here and now.
Still today, we live in a condition of violence. It just has a different name. Today, it's called crime. Today, it's called exclusion and poverty. But it's still a war. It's still the same situation over and over. Poverty is a form of violence.
Her eyes are tired, and the 66-year-old wishes for only one thing for her country, which is so rich in color, beauty, and spirit.
In one word, my vision is change. We have to continue with the struggle, with the fight for change. The road is long. At a personal level, I'm old and my time is almost done. But the vision is for MEA is that we have to involve young people.
Melida, decades younger than Felipa, Macaria, and Rafaela, is poised to continue on for herself and all the women who still smile through the hardship.
Always I think in the life exists 2 kinds of poverty. The physical poverty, when we don't have money to buy food, and the poverty that is in the heart. I believe that many women in Chimaltenango, in all Guatemala, don't have a poverty in their heart.
I've got the joy, joy.
Hearts full of bravery, strength, resilience, and joy. They are Women in Action.